Welcome back, everybody, to my YouTube channel, Patricia Monna Intuitive Consulting. This is our monthly check-in for psychic and astrological predictions for the month ahead, for the month of July. I'd love to welcome back Susan Reynolds. Thank you so much for joining me. I have so much fun doing this with you every month. It is wonderful to be able to see what you see astrologically in the stars and then compare it with what I do with remote viewing. So, how I want to go over just before we go into July, though, I have to say a couple things about June. Um, Remember, we talked about June 12th,
I
right?
remember.
So, and I said it was kind of a staticky, sticky energy that was coming in, staticky. And when I felt further into it, it was more of a almost like distortion, static in the field. I could literally feel that coming in. And lo and behold, later that week, the Schumann resonance went right wacky, and it literally looked like DNA and sacred geometry instead of the normal, bars and colors that
Okay.
it was. Did you hear about that?
I heard about it. I did not see it, but a friend of mine was telling me about it.
Okay, I'll post pictures somehow in the video when I edit it. I'll post a picture for everybody so they know what I'm talking about. Because yeah, it was definitely interesting. Now here's the thing. So of course the scientist said, "Oh wait, it was a glitch," right? And all the new age community is going, "It's DNA codes in coming in. It's the light coming in." And so I just kind of sat back and, analyzed the whole situation and looked for the commonalities of what was being experienced by the people who noticed this glitch. And the one thing that I noticed was everyone was saying how exhausted they felt, absolutely depleted. They slept for hours. That was the number one thing because I posted a picture of it on my Facebook and I said, "Okay, guys, has anybody noticed? Are you feeling anything?" Because usually if it's one or two people, well, it could be circumstantial. But when you get a whole list of people sitting there saying that, they feel exhausted, chaotic energy, their nerves felt fried, their body was aching, it really makes you wonder. So was there anything when we go back and review June, was there anything in the stars that kind of predicted that energy coming in from June 12th to the 18th? It ended on the 20th. They left that glitch up, and that glitch continued for a good 2, almost 3 days before it was fixed. So between the exact dates was June 16th to the 20th. I think I felt something coming in as early as the 12th. That's what I think. So what about
I
astrological?
think a lot of people, and this is something I tell my clients all the time, is that I can see certain dates astrologically. This starts to move in at this date.
Mhm.
But when I talk to my clients, I always kind of back that up because people who are sensitive, people who are aware, the kind of people that would come to you and me, they tend to pick up and start to respond to energies earlier than kind of quote they're supposed to. And so something may be in the stars, like, okay, you should start to notice this around August. I will start to see my clients talk to me about it in June,
Yeah.
some as early as May. They don't know how to language it or phrase it always, but that energy is starting to come in. They realize something is shifting and changing. So the more I worked with astrology over the years, we do work with the public, but we work with the public that is interested in mind, body, spirit, that is open to higher energies. So we're not necessarily working with the closed-minded, closed-down people who don't want to hear about this. And those are the kind of people that start to bring this in. So over the years, I just backed it up more and more and more and more till, because the population, I think this is totally the world according to Susan, but I think the population is starting to become more sensitive, more aware in general.
Yeah, I
We have,
agree.
I'll be 70 next year. And so in my generation, it was very buttoned down and you never talked about this and it was all on the down low and hidden. Now, you got psychics with their own television show and YouTube channels and podcasts, and everybody talks about it. And that brings the energy up so people can experience it more. I've seen grandparents, grandfathers, mothers, people who are older than I am, who would never have talked about this stuff, talking about this stuff. well,
Mhm.
I'm not sure what my sign is. I was born here, like they're open. And I think that's wonderful. It's not as shameful anymore. It's not a big secret. When I started to study in the 80s, you kind of had to know somebody who knew somebody. There wasn't any internet. There wasn't anybody talking about this. It was like knock 3 times and ask for Joe kind of thing, to learn this. Now it's everywhere and it helps us tune in earlier and easier. June was a big astrological month because, as I mentioned in June, um, January through June, we had one kind of energy. And then with the shifts in June, as we go late June to December, we have a different kind of energy.
Mhm.
That's why I've referred to 2023 as a transition year. And it's like, boom, almost like right in the middle of the year, it separates. All earlier this year, from January through basically the beginning of June, we've had a new energy coming in. We've had this Pluto and Aquarius energy coming in that has brought in an energy that none of us have ever experienced in our lifetime. It changes about every 240 years. And since none of us are more than 240 years old, we've never been through this before. And although I'm excited about this new energy, it's an Aquarian energy, which means it's chaotic, it's unstable, it doesn't conform well. We don't know how to handle it. Think of it like a wild child kind of thing. It comes in slowly. And I know there's many people watching this going, slow, that's what slow is like. But yes, 2023 was slow. It barely got its big toe in the new sign. It gives us a chance to get used to this new energy. This new energy is all about independence, freedom, marching to the beat of your own drummer, doing what you've always wanted to do. So more and more between 2023 and 2043, we are going to see people leave stable jobs to
Mhm.
follow their heart. I mean, there's nothing wrong with having a stable job and there's nothing wrong with following your heart, but we're going to see people do things in these next few years that might be shocking. We never would have thought they would stop doing this. When I was growing up, stability and safety and security were drummed into me. You get a job, you stay there for 30 years, you retire, you get the gold watch, that was how people live, not anymore. And so this year, people are starting to look at their lives in ways they haven't. And that's unsettling. And then boom, January through June 11th, it's been all this newness, this excitement, this kind of crazy, chaotic energy. And then June 12th, boom, it went right back into the old sign, back into stability and rigidness. And you can't do this and follow the rules. It's almost like getting hit with a Mack truck. Like, da-di-da-di-da-di-da, boom, the anvil falls on you.
Yeah, I have to agree. And I've seen that kind of energy in a lot of my clients' lives that I've read for that, 2023, the word transition has literally come up so many times in readings. And I think the hardest thing is people don't know how to embrace change, change in itself. We are programmed to look at it as scary so that it becomes a chance of bravery, or are we going to stay the same and be it's paralysis by analysis, you do nothing but sit and worry, and I think that this is a time where um, the seeds that we are planting this summer, the choices that we are making this summer, this is what I think is coming up for the energy of a lot of people, not just a few, but I think that there's going to be choices made this summer that you're literally going to see the manifestations of it over the next year to 6, 7 years. You'll see it, how the choices that we're making now are completely influencing, like having a big influence. So whether it's, choosing to, like you said, leave your job and absolutely try another career that vibrates with your heart, or maybe it's now the time that you're deciding to have children, whatever the choices are, it is kind of cementing people in over these next few years into the timeline that they're going to be living out. That's what I've seen come
I
up.
agree with you
That makes sense.
100%. Yeah, 100%. We're on the same page. These next 6 months, in some way, may be frustrating for a different reason, because January through June, it's go, 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 go at a level 10. So much is happening. I can't keep up. And then boom, everything starts to slow down as we move into July. We've got planets turning retrograde. The energy isn't moving forward and in your face anymore. This is actually a good thing. It gives us a chance to kind of step back, reflect, get a plan together. You know, it's not necessarily emergency, emergency, emergency in the moment, in the moment, in the moment. But it may also feel unsettling, like, whoa, what happened? Why is anything going on now? For 6 months, I can't keep up. Now it just came to a stop. So in a different way, we can still be unsettled because we don't understand what's going on. You know, these 6 months from June through the end of the year, well, first of all, June 30th, not Mercury, I'm most used to Mercury turning retrograde. Mercury is fine, it's not retrograde, folks. You know, for once, Mercury is
Leave
doing
that planet
great.
alone.
Yeah, but Neptune on June 30th turns retrograde, and Pluto is already retrograde, and Saturn is already retrograde. Now, remember, Neptune is the planet that deals with mind, body, spirit stuff. It deals with artistic things. It deals with the woo-woo, the metaphysical, the psychic, the strange, guides, angels, dreams, piercing that veil. That's all Neptune energy. And Neptune is not only going to turn retrograde on the 30th of June, it's going to stay retrograde. Hang on a minute. I wrote it down until December 6th. So basically through the end of the year. So many people who might be involved in the mind, body, spirit community or doing something that might be more metaphysically inclined may see their business slow down, or they may see clients that had left come back to them. You know, retrograde is like redo, go over, reprogram, you know, remodulate kind of things. We do it again. We may go back and want to teach something we thought we'd never teach that again. You know, we may go back and look at projects that we put to the side. Oh, this is too much trouble, or I don't want to do that right now. Suddenly that idea comes forward again. Oh, okay, maybe this isn't so bad. I can work with this kind of thing. These months are going to give us a chance to finish up anything we have left unfinished. It also gives us a chance to go deeper. Retrograde energy is not forceful outward, it's inward energy. So in these next 6 months, we're going to look within. We're going to turn within more, both on a metaphysical and spiritual level, but also on a psychological level. I'm going to say, if any of the people listening to this and watching your program are involved in the therapeutic community, I'm going to say, you know, clear your calendar because you're going to be busy. You know, people are going to start to ask those questions. They're going to start to be ready to dig. In some ways, this would be very frustrating, because I went through my own therapy years ago, and every once in a while, something will happen in my life, and I'll be like, really? This is coming up again? Did I not deal with this already?
Yes, I had a moment like that this past week where I was like, "Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?" So I see that energy already coming in.
Here we go again.
Yeah,
So it can
exactly.
be frustrating, but please understand, it's perfectly normal. This is what the retrograde energy does. It asks us to go back, lift up that lid, take a look. Is there anything left to clean out? Is there anything left that we need up and out? Have we done all of our work? Now, we may have done everything we need to do, but if there has been anything that we've sort of let slide or backslid a little bit, this Neptune retrograde gives us a chance to dig it up and look at it. So therapy is going to be calling a lot of people, counselors, therapists, people who deal with emotional, mental, spiritual well-being are going to be busier, because people are going to be looking at those things. Because Neptune is very artistic. It's very creative and very artistic. If anybody is an artist, if they work with music, dance, song, one of my clients is a wonderful vocalist, and he has just almost finished writing a musical. Like, I have no idea how you do that, how you even begin to create a musical, but he has, and he's a little frustrated because some meetings that were supposed to take place aren't taking place. And I'm like, it doesn't mean they're not going to take place, but you have to be more patient, because those projects tend to move more slowly. Now, that may be frustrating, but we can use that slower pace to make sure we're doing it right, to make sure we're doing it the way we want to do it, to not just be rushed in the moment, but to say, okay, do we need to revamp this? Do we need to look at this again, kind of thing. So it's not a negative energy. Retrograde energies rarely are. We just decide if things aren't going our way, that it's negative or we don't like it. But understand it's supposed to be slower. Saturn is also retrograde. Pluto is also retrograde. These can have a bigger influence on our professional life. So again, the promotion you were promised may not be happening. They're like, oh, we're going to revisit this again in a few months. We're not really sure right now. Maybe there's a big client you've been working to kind of reel in, and roadblocks keep coming up. We tend to blame ourselves. What am I not doing? Am I doing this wrong? Did I make a mistake? Do they not like me? You're fine. These are retrograde planets. They slow things down. The best way to use these is to make sure that you're not getting angry, frustrated, and irritated, because it's a slower energy. The more we try to speed it up, the more we slow things down. It's like you try to cut corners and it makes it twice as long, kind of thing.
Well, and it's interesting that you say that, because if there's one thing that I've noticed is that society is getting a lot more cranky. The attitude out there and the energy just feels really low. Like I had to go shopping for going to Ireland, and went to the mall the other day, and I felt like it was like, okay, close, plug your nose, dive right in again, because it was overwhelming, and I had to come home and really, come down from having to be in that environment. I feel very sorry for people who have to deal with the public like that on a daily basis with crowds of people and stuff, because people are carrying their concerns all over them. It's in their field of energy. I see a lot of people suffering financially, and even in their heart right now. It seems like there's a lot of breakup energy that's going on right now. And, for anyone who is going through that part in your life, understand, what's meant for you will come for you. Just live and let live and allow right now. Float, visualize if you are feeling overwhelmed with negative energy, because there is a lot of it out there, and it is contagious. A bad mood is contagious. It really is. So one of the visualizations that you can do is, when you're doing your deep breathing, just visualize blowing light out of your mouth and blowing that energy away from you and clearing your field with every breath. It's a release of light that's rippling out from your field and pushing that darkness even further. It works. I've had to use it a few times over the last couple weeks. So there's definitely something that is shifting in the air. And like you said, that makes sense when you said it's slower, more dense energy. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And so, is that negative energy, that the world is being bombarded with, or is it just dense, heavy, low, energy? But I do believe either way, it's here to teach us something. Everything that we're going through is here to teach us something, and it's how we view the situation that will determine the outcome, right? So if we don't allow ourselves to get emotionally sucked into the negativity, if anyone's coming at you or you're dealing with other people's stuff right now, emotionally detach from it and do not take anything personally right now, because a lot of people are projecting their stuff. I've noticed that, because instead of looking inwards, it's easier to say, oh, it's your fault, it's your fault, it's your fault, it's your fault, it's your fault. Well, all I know is that no matter whose fault it is, all we have control over is ourselves, our actions, our reactions, how we deal with it. And, I remember, watching Maury Povich growing up. I don't know if you remember that show. Do you remember
I
that show,
do.
Jerry
I
Springer?
do.
My mother would always have that on at the lunch hour, and so we'd sit there and eat my lunch and watch Jerry Springer. And I always remember the people with the tact and the class, and the ones who sat there and spoke their truth with elegance and then refused to get baited into the fights. Those were the ones that my heart always went for, or went out to, and I've always remembered that as a kid. Whatever the drama is that's going on around you, whatever you do, don't get sucked into it right now, because it's so easy to get drawn into someone else's negativity. But when you take a step back, you realize that there's something bigger that's happening in people's lives, and it's how they're processing their pain that's coming up. It literally is a reflection of what's going on inside that person. And I've noticed, like, road rage is up, grocery store rage is up. Like, it's crazy how people seem to have the energy of rage lately. And I just think, for the people who are powerful enough to hold the light during this time, this is it. Hold the frequency. Hold the frequency of peace and light for these people. And really, honestly, all we can do is pray for them, and pray for their peace, and come back to a state of stillness ourselves. So my little piece of advice on how to deal with what's coming in, because it's none of us are above it. None of us are above it right now. It's
It's
absolutely
important to
so
self-protect.
crazy. It really, really, really
Whether
is.
you're a reader like you are or I am, and we deal with our clients' energies, they're releasing a lot. Or whether you work in corporate America and you go in and you're in your cubicle and the boss is in a bad mood and the person next to you is cranky, self-protect. Surround yourself with that light. Sometimes when I can, feel everybody's energy kind of coming at me, I will not only surround myself with that light, but I will picture mirrors all around the outside. Anything negative is just harmlessly reflected away from me so that I can stay centered. You have to remember that until the 20th of July, we also have the sun in Cancer. Cancer is probably the most emotional sign in the zodiac. It's our inner child. So inner wounds start to come out. We can get triggered by something and don't even relate it to, oh, that's because I grew up poor, or that's because, parents got divorced, or we don't necessarily put the two together. But everybody is going to be more emotionally sensitive. So they're going to get their little feelings hurt much easier, Oh, they didn't invite me to the party until last. I guess they're horrible people and hate me. We tend to go to extremes. When Cancer gets involved, they just start to brood and they look at that and they get all upset about it. And I can say this because I'm a Cancer, so it's not a bad sign. I keep thinking I should talk about this at some point. Every sign has its high side, but every sign has its shadow side, where, you want to say, no, don't go there. Don't move into the shadow side of this sign. And the shadow side of Cancer is that they can be so sensitive that they make everybody else responsible for their emotions. You hurt my feelings. That's like Cancer's calling card. That hurt my feelings. You hurt my feelings.
Yes.
And so everybody's going to be a little bit more sensitive emotionally, a little bit more emotional about everything, because that's what happens when Cancer gets involved. We react first with the heart, with the emotion, then we go to logic and reason. That's definitely a distant second. So all that's going to be going on. Not only are you probably going to be more emotional about things, but everybody's, your spouse, your kids, your coworker, your boss, your neighbors, all of their emotions also coming at you. So exactly what you said, the more we can stay centered, the more we cannot get pulled in to other people's crap. And that's not even talking about all of the events that are happening worldwide. Because I don't know if you picked up anything about the stuff going on in Russia, but I started to pick up a little bit about that. And nowadays, a lot of my clients tell me they don't watch the news because it's just too upsetting. There's famine and pestilence and God knows, I'd like to have a good news network, where like, little Timmy carried his grandma's groceries home and somebody saved a stray dog. I'd love to hear those kinds of stories. Yeah. But now we've got, this is bad, this is wrong, the world's going to hell in a handbasket kind of thing. So we kind of have to protect ourselves from all this news coming at us through TV stations, through radio, through podcasts and iPads and computers and all the rest of it. We also have to protect ourselves from that, because, and I think I've said this, I don't know if I said it on the show, and this is just me, this is for entertainment purposes only. It feels like it doesn't matter where you are on the news stations you watch. When I pick these up intuitively, it feels like all of them have lost a little bit of their integrity and impartiality, and instead they're competing for ratings the way a sitcom or a drama show would be. Well, if we scare the bejesus out of the public, they'll tune in.
Yeah.
As the rain is falling, it's going to kill the crops, everybody's going to die. Oh, we've got them good. They'll tune in every day for that. So it's almost as if there's a deliberate desire to ratchet people's emotions up and create an element of fear. So we'll stay tuned in, but that is just so unhealthy.
Yeah.
And so we almost have to protect ourselves from that as well. And again, it's up to everybody on how they find their center and how they find their balance. But it's not as if our life is a little unsettled and everywhere else around us, it's love and light, peace on earth. You know, we are dealing with a lot of people's energy that is unsettled and fearful. And, you know, you probably experience the same thing I do. As soon as I start to talk to a client about change, I can feel the fear in them. I could feel the energy shift immediately. And I'm like, change is not a bad thing. If you win the lottery, that's a good change. If you're getting married, if you're going on a vacation, these are good changes. Change is not a bad thing. But the world has been so crazy for the last 10 years that when we hear change, oh my God, I just want a little peace and quiet. Leave me alone. I don't want any change. So we have to be able to adapt and understand that change can move us into a place that we want to be. If you're not totally happy with your life right now, then change can be a good thing because it can help to move you forward to where you want to be. These next 6 months, with all this retrograde energy, this is the time to plan. This is still work, still do your stuff. It's a time to say, oh, do I need a new website? Do I want to get a podcast? How would I present my business? Do I need to get a mentor?
Planting your seeds.
Yes.
Seeds. And that's what I saw when I was remote viewing this, like this summer. How does it hit personally? It's going to look differently for each person, but when you get that inspired idea, like you were saying, you know, you're going to see a lot more people going within, you know, connecting with their spirituality. Well, when we do that, when we get that divine connection flowing within us, it is the greatest source of inspiration and joy and creativity. You know, honestly, everything that we see, including this cup, was created by someone who had an idea, right? And actually followed through on their idea. So that is one of the things that, you know, for people who are going within over these next 6 months, pray for that divine connection to creativity. What are you here to create? Because this is how we bring heaven to earth. It's through us, right? The idea drops in, we carry through on the idea, and we make it manifest. This is how we manifest in this realm. So if we are aligned with our soul's purpose and our passion and our, you guys, your passion and your purpose are married. They're like this. They're intertwined. And there's a reason why each of us have different passions, because our passion is what drives us to educate ourselves in our craft, in our knowing. You know, it drives us to spend hours researching, you know, how can we become better at it. We practice and it doesn't feel like work. You know, if you're stuck doing something you hate for 8 hours a day, it's not your calling, it's not your craft, you know, because it's not, when you're loving what you're doing, it's not stuck in it for 8 hours. It's like, darn it, I only had 8 hours. You know, it changes the way you look at things. And when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. It completely changes your reality. So I think that that's where that comes into play about what you said about when people start going within, they start to hear their calling. And when you hear their calling, you're going to notice that's when people change careers. That's when the breakups start to happen. And in that moment, when you're going through that, you know, nasty divorce, it may feel like you're going through hell. Well, if you are, keep going, because this too shall pass. I promise you that it will. Even Susan, even this conversation that's happening right now, had the worst day in my life, which was losing my father, had he not died, when he died, how he died, this conversation wouldn't be happening right now. It was through my loss of both my parents that kind of blew this wide open. But yet when I was going through it, it felt like hell. I couldn't breathe. Like the pain was physical. And so for anyone who is going through grief, it's keep breathing, keep going, because it does eventually lift. It does get better. And when you look backwards, you can understand how everything is connected. Everything was a choice to get you to your best day, the best day in your greatest timeline. It was all a choice on how to get there. um, I like to explain life as, or people as, a series of books. I guess it's the Akashic records really that I'm reading from, but everyone has a book in their life, and when I'm doing a reading, it's like flipping the pages backwards and just letting them know what happened, and then flipping the pages forward and letting them know what's going to happen, right? I can tuck the book back on the shelf. Well, the book is kind of like those choose your own adventure books. Do you ever remember reading them when you were a kid? Did you ever read choose your own adventure
I
books?
don't think I ever read them.
They were really cool. I don't know if it was like a Canadian author who did it then or something, but I know that like when I talk to people that are, in their 40s, who 40s and 50s, around that era, and a lot of Canadians know about what I'm talking about. So I don't know if it was like a Canadian idea or whatnot, but it's, the premise is kind of like the Netflix show Black Mirror, where the viewer gets to choose the reality based on what they want to see next. It's your a choose your own adventure. So with the book Choose Your Own Adventure, the premise is the book's already been pre-written, but the reader gets to choose the adventure that the character goes on. At the end of each chapter, it'll say, okay, do you want to kill off this character? Do you want them to get married? Turn to page 6, and the other one, turn to page 18. And then it continues on the adventure through those choices, right? So we think we have free will. We really do. In this life, we think we have free will, but the choices have already been predestined because the book has already been pre-written. But how we get there is what's up to us, right? Because if we're supposed to become this world-renowned chef where we can feed people, our gift, our passion is to feed people. It doesn't matter how you learn to cook, you're going to learn to cook. You can learn to cook in the hood or you can learn to cook in the Hamptons. Either way, you're going to feed people, right? And that's the premise of the book. It doesn't matter how you get there. The
I
results are
love
still the
it.
same.
I will
So,
say I just finished this book called The Midnight Library. And
mm,
it was very interesting to me because it's sort of like what you were just talking about. It's a story, it's a novel story of this young woman whose life is falling apart. Her brother isn't speaking to her parents who dead. She just got fired from her job. She has no money, like a George Bailey lifetime, like It's a Wonderful Life. Like she's at the end of her rope. And she decides to kill herself. So she takes a bunch of pills and researches what she needs to do. But instead of dying, she goes to the Midnight Library. And although this is not written with a metaphysical bent in place, it definitely reminds me of the Akashic Library, Akashic Records. And so she goes to this place at the library, and she's shown all of the choices she didn't make, all of her regrets. And she gets to go back and pick a book and live out that life and see what would that have been like. What would it have
wow.
been like if I did marry this person? What would it have been like if I had children? What would it have been like if I didn't have children? What would it have been like if I pursued my dreams or not pursued my dreams? And she gets to go and she gets to live each one of these lives and to see, is this the life that would have brought me the same joy? And so she experiences all these lives and she's like, oh, like all this time, I regretted this, I regretted that, but each lifetime had its own crap, like it had its
Yeah.
own
Yeah.
lesson. There wasn't a get out of jail free card in any of these lifetimes. So I found that very interesting because all of us, if we get to a certain age, sometimes wonder about the path not taken. Should I have ever gone to live in Bali? Should I have, raised racehorses in Arizona or something? We can start to look at what did I not do and how do we get to the place that we are? And is it a happy, fulfilling life? Because sometimes we can have one area of our life that is very fulfilling and other areas that are falling apart. You have a very happy marriage and a wonderful family, but you hate your job and you hate going to work, and or maybe you just have the ideal job, but you're alone and you wish you were with somebody. we rarely have every aspect of our life in perfect balance at the same time. Not saying it's not possible, but I don't meet a lot of people like that. Most of us have some area we're doing a little work on, some area that needs a little extra effort kind of thing. And so for these next 6 months, you may not see the results of what you're doing. So I'm going to say be patient. What you're doing in these next 6 months is going to show up early next year. That's when you're going to start to see it. And other people who don't know what you're doing or what you're working on are like, oh, when did she graduate school? Or when did she start her own business? Or when did he, figure out how to own his own company kind of thing? And they're going to start to see the results. But most of us as humans, especially in Western part of the world, we're not patient. We want it now.
Yeah.
I actually had somebody, well, I want to go to your weekend workshop because I want to be enlightened. Can I get enlightened on that weekend? I'll pay extra. No, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
You can't buy your way into enlightenment with an additional fee, But we're all impatient. We want it now. We want it quickly. So when we don't see things happening, we make the mistake of thinking nothing's happening just because we don't see those results. We will see those results, but it's going to be a little bit further down the line than maybe what we would like. In the meantime, for a lot of us, there's a lot of partnership energy coming up in July. Remember how I said last month that Venus was going into Leo, and it went into Leo on June 6th. And instead of moving away in 3 weeks, it's staying there till October 10th. So it's going to stay there for about 4 months. But in July, it is going to turn retrograde. So hang on, I wrote down all these dates. So on July 23rd, and I'm old, so my glasses come on and off. So on July 23rd, we have Venus, the planet of love, planet of partnerships, planet of friendships. Even if you're totally not interested in romance, that Venus energy is still going to come out in terms of your friends. But on July 23rd, that Venus is going to turn retrograde. Now, not only will direct Venus be there from July 1st through July 22nd, but Mars is also in Leo for the first 11 days of July. So we have a double layer of all of this Leo energy. Leo is a fire sign, and Leo is a romantic sign. Leo is dramatic. Think Madonna, think J-Lo, Leo is a kind of a diva here, the grand gesture, and, they want love, they want romance, they want the whole enchilada kind of thing. So we are going to be dealing with a lot of romantic energy and a lot of partnership energy. People make the mistake of thinking that partnership is only romantic partners. But partnership energy can be professional partners. It can be you and how you partner with the company you work for. It can be your friends. They're also partners. So expand that idea a little bit. And especially for the first 11 days of July, we're going to see a lot of forceful, dynamic fire energy come out. It's almost like something is trying to bust out. We don't know what to do with this energy. Now, sometimes that can come out with like dramatic fights and loud voices, but other times it could come out with exciting opportunities. Oh, we want to cruise around the world, or we're going to drive around the country this whole summer. We're going to do this and this. Newness and boldness and excitement is something we can all enjoy from time to time, even though we may want some steadiness and some security. I love this Leo energy because it is coming out in exciting ways that say, I want to do something. I want to go somewhere. I want to experience something new. And as we get older and we start to understand ourselves and we know who we are, accidentally our life gets smaller. We know we like Rocky Road ice cream and we don't like, strawberry. We know what kind of movies we like. We know what kind of clothes we wear. And so life gets smaller. But this big, bold energy is coming in, and it's going to offer us the opportunity to try new things. Let's go ziplining. Let's try ice skating. I've never done that before. Let's go line dancing, or I want to learn ballroom dancing. This can be fun. It is romantic. It is about whatever speaks to your heart. Do you have hobbies? Are you creative? Leo energy also is about children, because astrologically, our children are considered to be our greatest creation. Talk about a moment of creation, you're creating a life.
Yeah.
So it's a great time in July for a family vacation. Or maybe you want to volunteer at your son's little league or your daughter's basketball game or whatever it is. There could be a wonderful time for being closer to your children or having some sort of wonderful dramatic experience kind of thing. This is a time in July for us to, I'm not going to say leave safety and security behind, but I am going to say maybe shake things up a little bit. Try a new flavor ice cream. Go to a movie that you've never seen before. You know, sometimes I'll pick up an article of clothing when I'm shopping with a friend, and they'll say, "Oh, that doesn't look like you." And I'll think, good, you know, and it tells me that I have a certain way of dressing, and the people around me realize that. But this is the time when you might try something new. You might get a makeover, go for new glasses, contacts, different color hair. This is when maybe, you know, a pink strand might do it for you. It can be fun, creative, and exciting, but also very dramatic and over the top. So you're going to have to be the one that finds that line. Where is it enough and where is it too much?
So I have a question. Will that Leo energy still be around at the Lionsgate portal, which is on August
Some
8th?
of it, yes, some of it, not all of it.
What do you
The
think that
Mars
would do
energy,
in combination with each other?
yeah. Now the Lionsgate portal, that's on 8/8. And
Yeah.
so the sun will be in Leo, but Mars will no longer be in Leo. Mars is going to move out of Leo. It is in Leo for the first 11 days, and then it moves into Virgo, where it is in Virgo almost till the end of the month. And then towards the end of July, like the 28th, the 29th or something, is when it moves into Libra. So it is not going to be in Leo anymore, but we are going to have the sun in Leo for 8/8, and we are going to have Venus in Leo for 8/8. So I'm looking at that as a very positive energy. And we're going to talk about that for August, for a lot of positive things coming out.
We'll save that one for August, but I'm excited about that because I'm already feeling the energy mounting around that date, and it does feel very positive, and it feels like, yeah, we'll talk about that one in August. But
That's a teaser, folks, for August. We're going to go right into that. But we can use the Virgo energy of Mars in Virgo after July 11th, starting July 12th, to kind of help us achieve the fun things that Venus and Leo wants to do. Venus and Leo wants to travel. Mars in Virgo says, okay, what does airfare cost? Can we find a reasonably priced hotel? Can everybody get off their commitments for this period of time so we can go? That Mars in Virgo organizes it. Virgos, in general, they get a bad rap. You know, they're the kindest, sweetest, most loving people. I have the best friends who are Virgos, but Virgo is very detail oriented. And so Virgo gets a reputation as being a little bit too persnickety or critical. But Virgo isn't trying to criticize anybody. Virgo will point out that those shoes don't go with your outfit because they care about you and want you to look good. They don't want you to go and interview looking like that. So they're going to say, are you wearing those shoes? But we tend to hear that as a criticism. Virgo means that as a, I love you and I care about you. I can almost hear all the Virgos watching this going, yes, yes, yes. So people tend to not always value the kind and loving heart that Virgo brings forward. And so as this energy comes in, we can use that. Virgo is very organized, very detail oriented. So, you know, you mentioned you're going on a trip. And there's a whole lot to be done for a trip. There's, you know, there's suitcases and clothes and travel plans and hotels and airfare, a train, and somebody's going to mind the dog and, you know, take care of the watering the plants. There's a lot to do. You
Yes.
need somebody who's going to be able to take that on, who's not going to say, oh, it'll work out. You don't want to do that. You want to know it's going to be taken care of. So we have an opportunity in July to have that fun Venus and Leo energy. It's almost like an amusement park kind of energy. It's very flirtatious. It's very fun. It's kind of romantic, you know, a really nice kind of couples energy.
Mhm.
But you've also got that Mars in Virgo that says, is this going to work? So it's actually a good way of looking at love. because sometimes we can fall in love with love. We just like the romance and the, oh, they're so wonderful, and we'll just work it all out. It'll be fine. Virgo's going to say, really? They're unemployed and $50,000 in debt. Really? You think it's going to work out? Virgo is going to help us keep our feet on the ground while our head is up in the clouds. So I really love this. We just have to make sure that we keep that Virgo energy in balance, that we don't self-criticize, because I don't think anybody is ever as hard on us as we are on ourselves. Oh, I should have done that better. Oh, I was wrong about this. It's sometimes when I tell somebody something and, you said that was going to happen in May and it happens in June. I'm like, sorry, what was I not looking at something? And then, wait a minute, you're human, Susan. Give yourself a break. You do your
Well,
best.
and you know what? People got to realize too that there's no such thing as time on the other side. So even when I'm doing remote viewing and tuning in, it's literally like I'm looking at a series of images or a series of someone's memories. Well, if you look back and I asked you, okay, what did you do yesterday? And you go through in your brain and went, okay, I went to the store, or I did this around 3 o'clock. That way of looking back and remembering is exactly the way it feels like when I'm doing remote viewing and I'm looking into someone's story. So people got to realize there's no such thing as time in that realm. And I mean that because even when I'm astral traveling, you can go backwards in time, you can go forwards in time, you can see anything. You travel at the speed of thought, when you're in those different dimensions. So yeah, that's the
We
way it
think
comes in for
time is
me.
linear, but it is not.
Yeah, it's
Never
definitely
is.
not linear. For
Yeah.
sure not linear.
So just make sure you don't let this Virgo energy trap you in some sort of need to be perfect, because none of us are. And when you hold yourself to that kind of standard, you're going to lose,
Mhm.
because we're not going to reach that. And if by some crazy luck you reach some standard of perfection, then what? You're merely acceptable. You can't really be happy when you're that's a way of hurting yourself. But use it well, use it for what it's intended, to help you navigate plans and navigate the earth better and follow through on things and help others, because that kind, loving, humble heart of Virgo, which I just adore. Now, I'm also going to say every month we have a full moon and every month we have a new moon.
Yes.
And on June 3rd, which is what I think that's, we're doing this in late June. And so July 3rd is Monday, I think. It's right around the corner. We have a full moon coming up. And that full moon is occurring in the sign of Capricorn. And we get a full moon when the sun is in one sign and the moon is in another, and they're opposing each other. So you think of the light of the sun highlighting the moon, and that's why we see it as full and golden and glowing and all the rest of this. But it's also an aspect of conflict. In astrology, the sun represents our willpower, our outer personality, our forcefulness, how we engage with the world, what people see. The moon represents our inner self. The moon represents our emotions. It represents our home, our family, things we have deep feelings about. It represents our sensitivity. It can represent our food, how we eat, how we cook, how we share and nurture. The moon is very nurturing. How do we nurture ourselves? How do we nurture other people? I'm a Cancer. When we want to nurture somebody, we cook for them. Here, I made you brownies. Here, I made you dinner. Cancer's always going to feed you. So we have the sun in Cancer and the moon in Capricorn. These are two parts of ourselves that are fighting each other. Cancer is
Wow.
all emotional, sensitive. Oh, I love you. Oh, let's just sit and gaze into each other's eyes. This is so nice. But Capricorn, very down to earth. Capricorn's very grounded. Capricorn is an earth sign, and so they're very practical. It won't let Cancer just sit there and mope or be wrapped up in their feelings or whatever. Capricorn says, and what are you going to do about it? Where's your plan? How are you going to fix this? Let's get busy. Capricorn rules our profession. So sometimes there are things going on around our work. It's really not a good time to ask for a raise, folks. I'm just going to tell you,
Yeah,
don't
I
ask your boss for a raise around July 3rd.
terrible. Which is totally terrible because if you look at how much inflation has gone through the roof, it is just insane. But yet no one's getting any raises to match the inflation. So yeah, it's awful out there. It really is.
I'm going to say the influence of the full moon and the new moon are about 3 days before And I usually say 2 days after. Some astrologers say 3, but I use 2. So you really got like 5 or 6 days right there for a week where that influence comes in. When we get a full moon, think of the water in our body, the liquid in our body coming to fullness. There's usually more inflammation. So if people, have chronic illnesses that are about, like arthritis or lupus or fibromyalgia, things that affect their joints and achiness, sometimes we can see those things flare up. Because of a full moon, a lot of people report trouble sleeping. I have trouble sleeping under a full moon, but they can also report crazy wild dreams under a full moon as well, because it's sort of bringing things up to the surface. We have more headaches. We certainly have more visits to the emergency room. Crazy, crazy things can happen because our outer self and our inner self are not in harmony. They're sort of fighting each other. And so when we're fighting each other on an inner level, it comes out on the outer level. We're not paying attention and we cut our hands in the kitchen. We need stitches. We trip and we fall over something and we end up in the emergency room with a sprained ankle or whatever it is. So be careful what you're doing. Full moons tend to be impatient, but full moons are about something coming to fruition, something coming to fulfillment. So if you want to do any ceremony work on July 3rd, do something about what do you want to release? What do you think has served its purpose and I'm done? I don't need this anymore. A full moon is the time to let it go. Whether that is a thing, whether that is an attitude, sometimes sadly it might be a person, maybe it's your weight. What do you want to get rid of in your life? What do you want to let go of? The full moon is the time to do it. It says, bye-bye, I don't need it anymore. Go, you're out of my life. So you can do that on inner level, turning within and working with your guides. You can do it on an outer level, doing a little ceremony stuff going on there and write down what you want. I would not release more than 2 or 3 things. You don't want to release of everything, of 20 things. I want to release my deadbeat husband and I want to release, my kid failing math and I want to release you. It's not about making a perfect life. So just pick a couple of things that are personal to you. Because as Patricia, I'm sure would say the same thing, we don't have control over somebody else's life. They have free will. We can't make them be what we want them to be. We only have control over us. So look at things you want to release that are about you. What's going to make your life better? What do you want to be released from? Sometimes that could be releasing grief. Grief is funny because I've lost both my parents like you. And there were times that I think, okay, I have my spiritual beliefs. I'm handling this. I'm doing this very well. And then the next day I'd be like a sobbing mess the whole day. It just, it's strange. Everybody grieves differently. Sometimes there's something we can't get past. And a full moon is a great time to push us gently away from that and help us let go. So yeah, ask your boss for a raise after July 5th. That's the time to talk to them. They may be a little bit more cranky. They may be a little bit more unreasonable because remember, we are all dealing with this conflict on the outer self and the inner self at a full moon. So depending on where Cancer and Capricorn falls in your chart, those are the places that's going to be most highlighted for you in July. Then on July 17th, we get the new moon. New moons are lovely. When you look up in the sky for a full moon, you can see it. It's there shining, it's round, it's big, it's beautiful. When you look up at the sky under a new moon, you don't see anything. It's the dark of the moon. And I always think of it as a blank slate. When we have a new moon, it's a blank slate waiting for us to write on it what we want. New moons are about new beginnings. It is about what we want to start. What do we want to begin? What are we ready to bring forward? We're not thinking about it anymore. We're ready to take the first steps into doing this. We have a new moon in Cancer. When we have a full moon, the sun and the moon are opposite each other. When we have a new moon, the sun and the moon are together. So it's like getting a double dose of that energy. On the 17th of July, we have a new moon in Cancer, which means you have a double dose of Cancer. But we're on the same page. Whatever the new moon is in, it's on the same page and working well together, but there's a lot of it. So we have a lot of that kind of Cancer energy. Cancer is about family. You may be spending more time with family. It's the summer. You may have grandkids coming to visit. You may have family vacations that are taking place. You may be busy cleaning up the house because in-laws are coming to visit. And you're like, I'm not letting them say anything.
Okay, it's interesting that you say that because one of the thing that keeps coming up for me, as you know, I'm going to Ireland. I keep saying that. I can't wait. Because I've never met an ancestor before, like an aunt, an uncle, anyone other than my brother and my two sisters and our kids. I mean, I've never met extended family, even my grandparents. And when I sit back and I think, okay, well, what is one of my biggest reasons on going out there? I really want to do ancestral healing while I'm out there. I want to get a deeper understanding of the people that came before me so that I can honor their journey because Susan, it one of the downloads that I've received over the last few months is that everything is so connected. Like literally they showed me strings of time and how it's all interwoven and how nothing could have been different or this reality that we're living wouldn't be this exact reality, right? And so I think about my mom, for example. She was 21 years old, hopped on a boat to go to a completely brand new country, by herself. What was she thinking? But obviously that was meant to happen or I wouldn't be here. And then I think of the value of my life and everything that I brought to the table because, you know, um, back growing up, I did not have an easy upbringing. And, a lot of the time I did not want to be here. I really didn't want to be here. And I would look at humanity and go, what's wrong with you people? You're so mean. You're so mean to each other. I just didn't understand how mean humanity could be, and that's I still struggle with that, how mean people can be, but I really think that that's one of the reasons why I'm here is to give back that kindness and love and sense of community, even to the people who watch this and see value in what we got to say, it's now you're a part of my reality. And had anything been different along the way, had my mom not hopped a ship to come to Canada, Susan, I wouldn't know you, or maybe I would, because it all comes around in the same book. It's just a different page. I don't know, but it's trippy when you actually think about it. So I want to be able to heal the pain that's been passed down because I know that, even in the Bible, it talks about intergenerational trauma and intergenerational pain being passed down 7 generations. And when and then with epigenetics showing that it's actually 7 generations up and 7 generations down from you. So that's what each and every one of us has a chance to heal in our bloodlines of our parents, and the people who came before them. And what does that look like? Well, it's knowing your triggers, knowing what has been passed down. What do you see in your parents that you never wanted to emulate, you never wanted to do? Well, don't do it. And if you do it, catch
Forgiveness.
yourself because it's a pattern. It's a familial generational pattern that's been passed down. And it's the time to stop and go, okay, look at the drinking in the family, or look at the drug abuse in the family, or the child abuse. You'll see it, but you'll also see the gifts and talents of the family line. And that's the other thing that I want to go there and ignite, activate is, what hidden talents and you know other gifts are hidden within my bloodline that I know if I do go to Ireland, I'm willing and openly ready to receive. It's just fascinating. So for anyone who is being pulled to ancestral healing, I get you. I got you. We're probably on the same wavelength. And so hang on, watch my videos because I'll share my experiences, while I'm down there. Yeah, and
You
I'd
might
love
want to
to.
check out some of the churches.
Oh,
Um,
I am.
because my
Oh.
sister went to Ireland to do the same thing. I'm Irish. My grandparents came over. And
Mm.
so when my sister went there, she said she found all kinds of records and information in the churches because they keep those kinds of records generations back. And she found relatives of ours and she took some pictures of them. I'm telling you, she had this picture of this one guy. He looked like my father's twin. Like it was so strange to see people who looked like members of my family. So yeah, it is incredibly healing. My spiritual teacher used to talk to me about something called the Guru's Grace. That
Oh,
as you heal, it is not a healing that is just personal for you. When you heal anything within you, It goes up a generation to heal those who have gone before you, and it goes down a generation to heal those who are coming after you. So the healing extends much more than just your personal, reality kind of thing. So I think you're going to have a fabulous, transformative, there's that word again, trip as you go to Ireland. And yes, it's interesting. This is all about family, family, family. And what are you doing? You're looking at your ancestors.
Yes, that's very neat. Very neat. Well, what else do you see for the end of July? I guess we should wrap it up here pretty quick. I could
Oh,
talk to you all
yeah.
day about this stuff.
I was,
Um, but
I was
but
just looking like, Gum, has it been that
anything else
long?
at
Like, we've
the
been
end of
talking that
July
long.
that is got the goods?
I'm going to say Mercury stays direct all year. I mean, all year. It stays direct all of July. And it finally leaves right at the end of the month on July 28th. So it's moving along. It starts out in Cancer, but very quickly on July 12th moves into Leo. So again, more Leo energy joining this Mars in Leo and Venus in Leo. Even though the sun is going to be in Cancer, we've got a lot of Leo energy operating in July. And I love that because Leo energy is bright and positive. And so I think June has actually been more difficult and more challenging than July is going to be. I'm going to be totally off with this, but I see July, we start to kind of take a deep breath. Okay, this is what it is now. I can handle this. It's like we all calm down a little bit and we
Oh,
start to look at ways we can use that energy to have fun, to enjoy our life. And so I'm looking forward to July. Like I cannot wait for this month to be here. And
yeah,
so, yeah.
I have to agree. I totally have to agree. June has been quite the go, go, go. And are you kidding me? Month, definitely over the past, like I said, since about that weird energy came through. And ironically, right around that was when the Schumann resonance, crashed. So it's interesting. And you guys, I would love to hear your what you felt, what you experienced between June 12th to the 18th, or actually June 12th to the 20th. The energy, I don't know, it was very heavy and staticky and exhausting energy. So if you felt that, I would love to hear in the comments. And Susan, thank you. Thank you for your wonderful explanation of what's going on. You confirmed a lot for within me of what I saw coming up in the energy of even personally what I'm experiencing. So like I can literally personally um, uh, totally understand on a personal level the information and the wisdom of your words here today. So I thank you so much for joining me again for the June. No, we're into July. This is the July update. Thank you.
This is the
And
July.
I really do look forward to our August one and talking about the Lionsgate portal and the energy around that and stuff. So
Well,
yeah.
it's been my pleasure. It always is. I thank you for inviting me. And I cannot wait to hear in August about this trip to Ireland.
Well, you know what
And
I just realized? I'm still going to be in there. I'm still going to be.
oh
We
no, so we'll
have
be
to
doing
schedule it.
August from
I
Europe or
I
Great
will be
Britain.
in England. I'll be in England at the time. So we will set it up and I'll go I'll do this with you from England.
Wow. I
Yeah.
cannot wait.
Yeah, I know. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be amazing. Well, and everybody else out in YouTube land, thank you so much for joining me. If you haven't already liked and subscribed to my channel, I encourage you to do so so you don't miss any of my trip that I'm going to take you with. And I plan on doing meditations there. And it doesn't matter where you are in the world, when we plug in together, oh, you feel it. So we will see you soon. God bless and take care for now.